Yep.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of Moose Lake City Council for Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. And I'd like to start with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to the agenda, we do have one addition that I know of, and I'll ask for others. This agenda would be under new business number 6, and it will be Q, and this is resolution number 21-20-03.
I had something I wanted to add before, wanted to talk briefly about a page or a Facebook page for the park.
Okay, do you want to do it, that'd be new business then? Mark? So this would be the park Facebook page, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 2, consent agenda. This is the minutes, 2A1, regular city council meeting January 13th, 2021. 2A2, organizational city council meeting January 13th, 2021. 2A3, the special city council meeting January 28th, 2021. Do I have any discussion or questions on the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under 2B, financial reports, 2B1, the city accounts payable for January 2021. 2B2, city financial statements for January 2021. And B3, liquor store profit loss statement for January 2021. Any questions, discussion on the financial reports? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 3, public comment. This time is reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Appears that we have none. So we'll move on to number 4, department reports. The police chief department report for January 2021.
Mayor, members of the council, attached to see the police report for January 2021 totaling 175 calls for service. 8 of those calls for service were to MSOP and 1 to DOC. In addition to those calls for service, we spent about 10 hours on MSOP calls and 4 hours at Department of Corrections. You'll see here under the self-initiated, now when you notice for the last 3 months we've been spending more time at MSOP and some with DOC, and then as our self-initiated activity for those 3 months had dropped off. And again, it's a clear representation this time now when we're not obligated to those, that the city portion of it is picked up. When you look at the extra patrol, we've had 22 compared to the 14 the month before. Our traffic stops were up from 26 to 41 this month. 18 community engagements, responded to 23 calls to assist other agencies, 66 calls for service, and 5 medicals totaling 175. I did have, like I told you last time, that I'd be meeting with the Department of Corrections and have that same meeting that we had with MSOP. Again, I've got a big list of things for another ECRC meeting that I told them that they're gonna have to either start looking elsewhere for that, and my question to them was, what are you doing when I'm not available? And they go, well, we just have somebody from our fugitive unit doing it. So if you have employees in your system that can do it, why aren't they doing it, why are we? So that part's, they're looking for alternatives right now to do something different. We still want to work with them on, some of the issues, coming up and that come from, some other investigations, but they're going to be looking at some other alternatives as well. And part of it is okay, we could look at maybe some kind of financing from the state to us, but then some of it too puts us in with a staffing level. Let's say like we're running short right now, if I'm on or somebody else is tied up on something else and they've scheduled me to be on ECRC and I've spent 2 days the week before preparing for it and now I get called away on something, I can't be there. So that commitment can't be there for a regular thing like that. So some of those things I can see changing. Also, not sure if you guys have known this, but Carleton County was successful in getting a grant for a medical health professional, a clinician that they're advertising for right now that's going to be embedded in law enforcement. So they want between the city of Cloquet, Moose Lake Police Department, Carleton County, they're going to have this psychotherapist that's going to be available to respond to calls like when we go. So they called the other day and we had a conversation about what would be the best times to see somebody like that out here. And how that's going to be used, and we've got some more meetings coming up. They asked if I'd be interested in being on their interview panel for this position, and it sounds like, for us and what we've been dealing with lately, it definitely has some value. Part of their model, though, that they were looking at that I read prior to that is it wasn't supposed to be like associated with law enforcement, and had kind of a negative tone, and I wasn't going to be part of something like that if this is the direction it was going. So I was assured that it's not, and that it is going to be working closely with law enforcement. So it seems like it's going to be a good program, and it's kind of one of those things like now we've had some pretty big time commitments with some of the people that have some of the mental health issues in our city, and we've had to do a lot of the follow-up on the social work part of it to get anything done. And now when we go to these calls and we call them, it's going to be the handoff for them to take care of that portion of it. So that's in the works. They're advertising for it now, and it's scheduled for 1 year, but they expect it to be more of a permanent type position. And I think as far as the other incident with the power outage, are you going to address some of that later? So other than that, I really don't have anything else from the city. We're still going to continue talks, like I said, with MSOP and DOC, but everything else seems to be moving along.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks.
Pass it on to the crew,
I will.
please. Good job. Under department reports, 4B, Public Works Superintendent Report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, busy month. A lot going on for the winter. We're just moving along. We're waiting for spring. I think like everybody else, especially after this last week, right? It's been kind of reality check. So, all right, water department. We'll start there. Distributed 4.0 million gallons of drinking water in the month of January. I did complete all our MPARS reporting, and what that is it is a portal through the Department of Health that we log into and report all our water usage for the year of 2020. It's a lot of pages. There's a lot to it. The nuts and bolts of it really gets you down to finding out what our unaccounted for water loss is. We are doing very well. Our unaccounted water loss is about 5%, which is very good. The Department of Health wants to see us 10% or lower, so I would say that is pretty good. That is down from our high was in 2015 of 29%. So yeah.
Is that
so
like
it's
water breaks,
water breaks, just
running water?
well, no, because that's accounted for.
I
We can
suppose.
account for all that.
Yeah.
It's unaccounted for water, so we don't know where it's going.
Sure,
We're pumping it, we're putting it out, we don't know where it's going.
sure.
So we're making good headway there. That's really good. Well house is coming along. I did get this update from the well house here this late, actually about half an hour ago. It's moving right along. Hunt is still doing the electrical stuff. Fireproof on the interior walls is going. The shop drawings are being looked at right now. The fluoride equipment is about 85% complete, and just some attic access insulation, that kind of stuff. Flow meters are looks like they're on order right now, and that's about it in a nutshell there. With the water department, I do want to stress, it's really cold, everybody knows that, so it's a good time to look at our frozen water and sewer line policy. Like you've heard me say for the last 3 months, no one likes frozen water, no one likes frozen sewer. We have a very nice, easily spelled out policy on our website. I might be on our Facebook page, if not, I know it's on our website.
It's on our website.
Perfect. I have copies of it for people who don't understand it. Please call. Please call the shop, call the public works department. If you get a hold of my cell phone, call me, call City Hall, they'll get in touch with me. Let's be proactive instead of reactive. Nobody likes that, especially not me. So it's just good. We can do this. We can do it together. I know we can. Right now, we do have 4 services that are currently running just to prevent from freezing. That's down, it's down by about another 4 about this time last year. We had 8 running. So far we're sitting pretty good. The 21st of January had the worst water break in my career I've ever seen. It was a wake-up call. It was a good one. It was good. Had a hydrant literally push right off the end of the main out by the trip on the 73 right away. And we lost 418,000 gallons of water in less than 24 hours. There was a lot of
Frost
fire.
related or just material?
Maybe a little both. There's a couple pieces of infrastructure I did show to Katie that's the acidic soil that's in clay soil. You see that a lot. It's starting to wear and tear on some of that already. It's only 30 years old, so it's kind of scary.
Where was this?
Out on 73, right in front of Quick Trip. Yeah, it's only 30 years old and it's
So
already starting.
McDonald's, Minimart, all of those places were without water. It was probably, I don't know, half a day.
Yeah, well, no, it was more, yeah, I suppose, because I shut them off at midnight.
It was
and
probably
they were back
about,
on by
yeah, 12
midday.
hours, yeah.
Noon. Yeah, so just keep in mind, when we're looking at road projects, or we're doing at utility upgrades, or we're looking at putting money into our infrastructure, it's huge, because this is our new infrastructure, and it's not new anymore, so it has some age on it. But anyway, it's fixed, everything's good, everybody's happy. So, sewer department collected 9.5 million gallons of wastewater in the month of December. The treatment facility right now, it's winterized, it's shut down for winter, it's just 11 ponds sitting out in the middle of nowhere, just hanging out. So, you guys received an email a week or 2 ago from Katie. I did put a handout on every one of your tables. What that is, it's a flow comparison from 2020 to 2021. And I apologize, yours are not in color, mine are, but there is, if we look at them, and I know it's really small too, I apologize about that, sorry. From the 10th to the end of the month, that's what we want to look at. We want to compare January 2020 to January 2021. And it looks like a whole bunch of numbers, and that's exactly what it is. And these are the sheets that I send off to the BCA every month, and this is part of our actual DMR report to the state. So if you just do some quick figuring, if you want to, go ahead and check my math, but if you add it all up and look at what our total flows were in January for 2020, we're at 13.5 million gallons of wastewater collected in that month. Figures out to an average of 437,000 gallons a day, right? So we go to 2021. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Greg. We go to 2021, and our total flow is 9.56 million gallons for the month, which figures out to be 308,000 gallons a day. So these numbers are recorded in millions of gallons. So you'll see 0.308, whatever it was, 308,000 gallons. So what that tells me, a little bit of math, we are down 29% of a flow drop from this time last year to this time this year. The only thing we did was line that section of pipe last summer. Everything else is the same. The flows are the same. So, I don't think we're asking for it tonight, but I'm sure it will be.
No, we're gonna try. We had
Month or
talked,
so.
yeah, we had talked about, the second lining project, which will be this summer. But it sounds like the city of Duluth is going to also be doing a large lining project, and we're waiting for them to post, so that,
That's right.
hoping that drives the price down, and we can maybe get another section of pipe done. So it is coming, we have not forgotten about it, but we're trying to be strategic.
I forgot all about that, that's right. I thought we talked, and we did talk, and then That's
Yes.
right, we got that info and that got changed. So anyway, we'll be looking at another lining project hopefully for approval in a couple months. So if you look at this, just do some rough numbers, 29% flow drop in 600 feet. We have like 9.5 miles of pipe in town. Come on, guys. I think we can all see the writing on the wall.
What does that, is there any way of figuring out, okay, we dropped that many gallons of water, okay, that means we don't have to treat that many gallons of water, so is there any way of putting dollars and cents in somewhat of what we save in material for the purpose of treating?
So there is, now, we can look at that at a very small scale, or we can look at a very large scale as far as pumping all that additional water, the whole 9 yards. We will need, I am not your guy for that. That I can't figure out. I can
don't
figure
think-
out a lot of stuff, but that one I'm not.
I think that would be more of a question for an engineer, to be honest with you.
Correct.
I like to think that I'm smart, but I'm not that smart.
I thought you punch numbers.
Yeah, I can crunch numbers, but I don't know what any of that stuff, I mean, I know what it costs, I
No.
just don't know what it costs to maintain and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
So I
and
don't.
there's so many things to look at.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not just-
energy costs and wear times and.
We did talk about this, it's hard to put a dollar amount that we're saving. I think we're gonna see this over, like Phil said, a longer term savings versus
Today.
1 year we're gonna save. I don't think that's how you're gonna see this one go.
Well, I mean, I believe the engineers can sit down and tell you that they could tell you how much it costs per 1,000 gallons to treat and so on and so
I'm
forth.
sure they could, how much that would cost. for-
Right,
I have no
right.
idea.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, really simple, one page to the next, our flow dropped 29%. I know it's a lot, but that's all I got for right now. If we want hard numbers, we are sure we can get them if you guys want them, but.
Question for
Well,
on that, with less inflow like that, chemical readings higher? Because we would have less water mixing in with sewer and stuff. I'm just curious.
Yep, nope, great question. So, you take the water out of the equation, you're still left with the bad stuff, so our concentration does go up. We are seeing that already this summer. However, we typically run on discharges, we do 5 discharges a year. If you do this math alone, over the course of a year, it's about 1 1/4 discharges is what we're saving. So now I stand up here a couple times a year and ask for 4 or 5 grand for a tanker load of ferrochloric acid, which is to treat phosphorus at the ponds. It's 1 1/4 less discharges, that's 1 1/4 less loads I'll have to buy. And each one of them loads are between $4,000 and $5,000-ish, depending on where the price is. So I know it's not a whole lot, but it's good, we're going the right direction. I can tell you we're saving money, I can't tell you how much, but I can tell you we're moving in the right direction.
But it also saying in fact then, I mean, when we get it down to the point, not the number of gallons going to the ponds, we can also add number of hookups as far as for development.
So that's the beauty in this. This allows our capacity to now start crawling and going through the roof. Not saying by 30%, but
No,
definitely a lot better than where we were sitting. So that's one good thing about that. So if anyone has any questions on that, I know it's a little confusing, give me a call, I can walk you through it, we can meet, whatever you want to do, not a big deal. Street department, snow and ice removal, everybody knows that, everybody sees us running around. Once again, see a plow truck go by, keep an eye on it, we do back up, make corners, we do all sorts of crazy stuff that someone would not think we do, we do it. So just watch, keep an eye out, you know, that kind of thing. Frost depth's currently 36 inches in the ground right now, which is still considerably less than where we were last year as well. Is that one? Am I missing anything? Yeah, I am. So everybody knows we burnt the brush pile here, what, 2 weeks ago? And everybody knows it's, yeah. That was a bad experience. It went fine, no, we got hurt, nothing like that. We did get a phone call from our friends at the DNR, and we got a few phone calls from some other agencies around the area, looking for solutions to fix the, what would you call it? Well,
the
smoke.
yeah, the smoke and the smoldering. That smolders for 2 weeks, and there's just nothing we can do about it.
Essentially, they want us to relocate the brush pile and,
how far?
super
out
good
of town,
question.
miles away from us.
Give it to somebody else? Do they wanna donate to have us
I
picked up
highly,
and shredded so that you don't even have to burn them?
I highly doubt it. It was, I don't think the phone call that was made to the DNR intended to be a complaint. Like, I don't think that's how it went. I think it's very similar to if someone called me and just said, hey, heads up, I have to deal with it like as if it was a complaint. And so they were just, the DNR is just doing their job and following up on a call that they got concerning public health and whatever. The guy was decent. The guy
He was
great.
very good to work with. Yep.
The guy was great.
Yep.
And I think we're just to the point where we don't know what to do.
Right.
I love offering a brush pile for residents. I think it's it's obviously used. People use it.
And that's kind of, I'm gonna just, sorry, but I'm gonna cut you off for a
That's okay.
second. It is used, it's abused. There's people that don't belong in there, and they're getting rid of stuff they're not supposed to get rid of in there.
Yep.
I don't know if you wanna make a recommendation or me, but if I mean, I will.
So there's a couple of options. The first option is not my preference, but is just to shut the thing down. I don't like getting complaints every single time we burn it. I think it's frustrating for you, for me, for the DNR, for the residents, I get it. The other option would be to essentially have it open during our business hours, like normal business hours, and then on Saturdays when the
It's like,
recycling shed is open. So essentially the recycle shed folks would unlock it and lock it back when they leave.
And I think, I was looking at that a little more with recycling hours being open till 6 p.m. Wednesday through Friday. We could take that 7 to 3:30 schedule of ours,
And
put
push
it
it to
with the recycle center,
Yep. So
so Monday,
Monday,
Tuesday,
yeah.
3:30, Wednesday through
Yep.
Friday, 6, Saturdays,
9 to 1.
yes, correct. That would be my recommendation, because we gotta do something.
We just
And
need
that's-
somebody to come and lock the thing up.
Right.
Just, we used to have the recycling shed up at the brush pile.
Correct.
And the person in the shed cleared the person coming in. At that time, we allowed only citizens or residents, excuse me, a Moose Lake into it. The townships had to do their own thing,
Okay.
which were allowing anyone in essence to come in and out. That did control it. While they were there, they opened it. When they left, they locked it. That's another thing we could possibly do to control that. Close it for anyone outside the city limits, and then the townships would have to establish their own burn piles.
What would
Or,
sorry, Dave.
or we could attempt to see if if the Moose Lake Township has a site that both the city and the township could use in the township. I mean, we haven't looked at it that way. It's always been looking at the city and not going the other way, getting it out of town. I don't think we talked about a burn like once a quarter instead of at the end of the year, but that may just make it worse and get more complaints.
I think that you get complaints 4 times a year versus,
Yeah,
but right now we do it twice.
that's what I think would happen
So,
too.
and I reached out to the fire department asking if they would want to take this over as like a controlled burn to do once a quarter, however long they want to, and they were not interested. So,
And I received complaints on it, that day too as well. I think part of it was that we had the cold temps at that time too, so it was staying down.
Yep.
And then if, you'd almost have to come down and watch your wind direction, and when it's going west is when you burn, which doesn't allow you to really plan, and for how long, that can change daily. But I think those cold temps held it all down, and it was going right, towards the hospital, direction.
Yep.
For a couple days. So whether it's a temperature thing or whatever, because have you had complaints every year?
every
Okay.
single time.
Yeah,
And
every-
so, the only time we don't is if it goes, what?
West.
If it goes-
That's, which,
Never happens, you're right.
Never happens.
Never happens. So, I mean, that's still, even by using these hours, that's a lot of time. I mean, it's a lot of time.
I guess I do have maybe a complaint on those hours. The weekend is when most people do their lawn work, when they work Monday through Friday, and I think by not having it open later on Saturdays and Sundays is gonna be huge.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up,
I
you know,
mean-
the hours people are working during the day till 4, and
Yep.
I think they're bringing some stuff down in the evenings and then Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
So that may be an issue with those hours, but.
I think it's gonna be a huge issue.
Well, you could take that recycling position or hours and shift it more to Saturday, so it's more conducive for people that are off on the weekend. You could still do it the same as we have it in that gate, lock it, move it over there, and just change the hours a little bit longer on the weekend.
Are there any areas that need fill that you could just throw the leaves in and you wouldn't even necessarily have to burn it?
So the problem with that is then it takes their time. So right now, we light it on fire and we monitor it, but we don't sit there all day long. And hauling it would be wear and tear on our vehicle, manpower.
Well, I
You know.
wasn't necessarily saying hauling it. I don't think there's an area, I mean, back in the day, they used to dump stuff down by the old school, by the old baseball field there, but they also getting away from dumping stuff like that. I just thought maybe in the county or in the township somewhere, there would be some low area or something like that where they could just pile it in and
Well, I
it's just
guess,
something to think about and look
yeah,
at.
I guess the township has one out by Sand Lake.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know if it's open, like ours is, like for whomever to go.
They gated
No.
that up now.
Yep, but you have to call the supervisor to come down and unlock it for you.
So, I don't know, I just think that we're one of the only sites that just is like wide open, not manned, come and dump your refrigerator or whatever, you
Sure,
know?
it's bad. Yep.
I know the city of Carlton has theirs locked and it's open when the recycle shed is open, so that's how they do theirs.
Yep.
I don't know if it's even open on Mondays and Tuesdays at all,
I
but.
have no idea.
Well, You don't burn the leaves in the grass.
No, the leaves in the grass
That's
go
just
through the pile.
recycled, that's just compost. So the problem is it's all,
It's
it's
just brush.
basically brush the trees. And then you see the trees that come in, or some of them, you know, are just big around.
And you can see, I mean, there's equipment trailer loads of brush that are strapped down. Now, if they're getting strapped down, they're not just coming from First Street, Second Street, Third Street. Because, you know, you go 100 miles south of here, and you have to pay to get rid of that. So if you're coming up here, and the gates are wide open, and you don't have to pay for it, and I know there's a lot of that goes on. So it's something to think about. I don't know how we want to move on it, but I know we gotta do something other than what we're doing, because what we're doing isn't working.
More gas in the. Thank you, Phil.
See, we're, okay, thanks, guys.
Oh, one question.
Yeah.
Something I thought of. Okay, we got a strategic plan on the liner. Waiting for Duluth to bid or buy.
Open,
Open.
just
Open?
open, not open their bids, but go for a bid, go out for a
Because
bid.
there's probably only a few contractors that do that lining.
Correct, and they all come from the cities.
And if Duluth grabs them, we may be waiting later in the year before we can use them.
Nope. I don't think so.
Think so?
Because our project is relatively small in comparison to Duluth, and it took 2 days?
One day of cleaning and one day of install.
So
Yeah.
it took 2 days, it didn't take, they'll be in Duluth like all summer by the sounds of it. This was a
Okay.
fairly large lining project in Duluth. They'll just send some guys down here for a couple days, so.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something we gotta try anyway, for sure. Okay, so the brush pile, think about it, we'll talk about it next month. Thank you, guys.
Moving on to 4C Technology and Library Report.
The library minutes are in the packet from January 19th, as well as a CW, some handouts. I attended a meeting with CW, just a check-in meeting, seeing how everything was going. One of the things kind of on the horizons that they're gonna start looking into is the age of our server is getting older, I guess. It will need to be replaced in 2022. So I had them look at a couple of different things. One, just to replace it as is with something that will work. The other option that I asked them to look into was merging ours and Water and Lights together, because it doesn't make sense to me that we have two separate servers. So I think they're starting to look into that. The other thing with the library board, the director position was closed on Friday. The library board looked at the applicants on Monday, and I just have to schedule interviews. It's been kind of a mess around here the last couple days, so I hope to get to it by the end of the week, and if not, for sure, early next week. So, I think there were 3 applicants?
Yep, 3 applicants.
3 applicants, okay.
Yep.
So it sounds like we'll be interviewing all 3 of those. I just don't know what day.
I guess one of the only other things we discussed at the meeting was the book sale. They're going to have that at the Historical Society on June 4th and 5th this year. Because of COVID, they didn't want to have it in this area here. I believe there's some kind of Historical Society Fest going on at the same time, so they're going to try to work that in there. And they had talked to Steve, and Steve was open to it, and it sounds like that's going to be the plan.
Great. Rory, did you have anything to take note?
Other than the electrical issues, did a little bit of number on MediaCom equipment up on the building up there. We were down one channel up until just before I came for the meeting. Both channels are up, but our live broadcast is still going to be an issue why we're not live broadcasting here. It could extend into the weekend of the churches not being able to live broadcast also, but they're going to see if they've got a piece of used equipment that'll replace what went down up there. They're running into an issue where the equipment that they're using is starting to become obsolete in their system also, so they're looking at different. See, the good and bad of it is we're capable now of pushing out a high definition picture with the equipment that we upgraded to, but they're not high definition right now. So it might be a good time to push them towards that, which, I mean, they'd have to kind of revamp everything, but that would, have a better quality on the cable too. But I didn't realize we were down until I came this morning to set up that we were down. So then I got on the phone and they sent some guys down and to try to figure out what the issue was. So it's in the works. We're gonna, hopefully we can be up so that the churches can live stream our live broadcast, but see where it goes as quick as they can get it done here.
Thank you.
Yep.
4D city engineer.
So a couple things we're gonna talk about later on, but I just wanted to touch on a few other things here. The Trunk Highway 73, we're gonna call it Phase 1 Trail. We had a meeting with Carlson County yesterday, just to kind of go over where we're sitting with everything, how the design is going. I would have liked to see it in this council packet for approval to go out for bid, but they're still working through some design issues, trying to get the state's approval. All of that stuff takes a bit more time than I was anticipating. So I'm hoping, April seemed really late to me, but it sounds like that's when it's going to be in our council packet for approval. The other thing was the Sioux Line Trail. We received that $150,000 from the DNR. Because that didn't happen last year, they asked Northland what their price would be for this year, and it increased like, I don't know, $8,000. SEH is going to talk to them about trying to get that reduced a little bit, but I don't know, $8,000 for this trail. I don't want to rebid it, it's gonna cost more to rebid it, so, you may be seeing that in the next council packet also. And then the other thing is the lining project. Like I said, we're just kind of waiting for Duluth to open up for bids on that, which sounds like it'll be, I don't know, March, April-ish, so that'll be coming too. We didn't forget about any of this stuff. And then the other items we'll be talking about later on.
Okay, you're gonna debt others at phase 2 from 10 going.
Yeah, I got that
Gotcha.
up here.
All right. Any questions on the city engineer report?
Lots of moving parts with engineering.
Yeah. And I know they're well aware of the deadlines with those grants, so
Yeah.
they have to line everything up.
Yep.
So we don't lose any of the money on the grants, that's.
Yeah, some of them
key.
expire,
Yeah.
like June 30th, so,
I
it doesn't
think
take long though to.
As
one
long
of
as
them-
they're started,
Yeah.
they're good with it.
Yeah, yep.
So we have to designate the police department for shovels again. Just kidding. Add one more duty to the chief.
Other duties as assigned.
Chamber of Commerce updates, I did not make the telecom or the Zoom. Did you, Katie?
I did. I think the biggest piece of news is they are having their ice bocce on the 20th. I think the only event that they have for sure planned for 2021. Everything else is just, they're moving forward, but really tentatively with COVID. So they're very excited about this event. It sounds like it's already almost full. There's like a cap of 24 teams and they already have 22 teams signed up, so.
Did you, Chris, and
Yeah.
Phil?
I'm actually
What
going
team?
fishing that weekend, so
I thought you guys were gonna do a team.
we should
Were we?
have.
Yeah, I volunteered you guys.
I missed that at the last meeting.
A city
you can
team,
take
they don't know it? Oh,
Yeah, there you
man.
go.
This is getting bad, police department again. Replacements for the bocce team.
You have to be our team captain.
Okay. Moving on, previously discussed business, we have nothing. On number 6, new business, 6A, Lakehead Constructors Pay Application number 3.
So this one looks like it's through the end of January for $114,095.
Do I have any questions I should ask before I ask for a motion? Question and a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? On the Lakehead, we are still missing a transformer for the
Yep.
well house.
So
Did we get a date now for it? Phil?
No, I was not. No, I was actually sending an email. I thought I heard the end of March.
Okay.
So that's what I heard last.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
Thank you.
essentially right now, they're kind of waiting. I wouldn't say they're waiting. Work has not stopped, but we're waiting
At
for.
some point, they need that for,
There's a transformer that's on order and it has been on order for quite some time.
Yes.
So we're working on it.
okay, thank you. Just wondering on that.
Can I push that out then?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Tell them we said hi also.
Yeah, no, it's
That's
just.
okay. Moving on to 6B, water tower painting.
So part of the engineering meeting was talking about colors, logos, whatever. They did say it costs a little bit more to put like our city logo on, and I think our city logo is a little bit too intricate to put on the water tower. It's what's on your shirt there.
Yeah.
So do we care about colors, and should I just say stick with kind of the same what we have, or does somebody want to volunteer to pick colors?
What would a darker color hide that
The mold?
mold?
Yes,
wouldn't
it would.
Yeah, I'd say a little darker to.
So maybe a darker color with white writing, like white Moose Lake.
Yeah.
What color is that? It's green, isn't it?
It's like a,
Yeah.
it's like
Black.
a blue
The
right now.
mold?
It's black.
Yeah,
No,
it's
that
like a
writing is like the
green,
color of the light poles out
Yeah.
there.
Oh, is it?
Green. It's not a very nice looking water.
Okay, well then, I'll say
A darker
that.
color would keep that water warmer when freeze is easy.
Well,
Oh, really?
and then it
Oh, yeah.
will show the mold, that's a good idea, I never thought of that. I'll say darker color.
Does he see this?
There's always.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I see some mold.
Absolutely. It absorbs sun.
Red and blue, I thought about that also.
Dark color.
Dark color, okay.
Is he serious? Yeah, I'm serious.
Okay. Okay, I'll tell them that. I'll let them pick.
They're gonna.
They're not gonna wanna pick.
They're gonna have to bring some samples or something here.
Yeah, we don't want them to.
Right.
So this needs to go out for bid hopefully next month. I know they're really, really close on all the documents for it. But they asked me about colors and logos and I was like, I'm not making
I
that
think
choice.
just writing that we have on there
Yeah.
now, and
Yeah, okay,
it doesn't have to be fancy, like I've seen some where they're doing cursive
yep,
to make it look nicer, but we can just go basic. and
Okay.
Just a name and a year and.
yep,
yeah,
Got it.
Whatever.
okay. I just wanted,
We're not a basic town.
yeah,
Well, we could go something nice.
I just,
We could do cursive, that does look kind of neat.
Do you wanna get up there and
Could you
maybe
say like welcome to, or I mean, since you see it
we could welcome to Moose Lake.
since you see it for far away, I don't know.
Sure. I'm all for it.
Welcome to Moose Lake, brush pile this way. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yes.
ATV trails.
ATV trail over there.
Oh, gosh, okay.
I think it actually says welcome to Moose Lake now.
It
It
does
does.
it say?
It
Okay,
does say
I thought
welcome.
I just, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I never look up at it. Okay. Well, then that's all I needed for that. Just, I just wanted you guys to have some say here, because I don't want to make these decisions.
All right, thank you. 6C, Teamster Local Number 320 MOU court time.
So, we approved the union agreement last month. There were two changes. The union, I will be clear here that the union edited the contract, and did not include these changes in what they sent me, and did not send one to the police officers. So I did not catch them. So in order to solve the problem, we issued MOUs, memorandums of understanding. So this one here is for court time. Essentially, if court gets canceled within 24 hours, they will get 3 hours of overtime. So we did agree to this, it just didn't make it into the final draft.
So you need a motion
I do.
for accept.
I'll make
Questions?
that motion.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6D, Teamster Local Number 320 MOU Sergeant's Pay.
And this one is for, if the sergeant position ever is vacant and we decide to refill it, we will negotiate the wage of said sergeant, so.
Questions? Motion? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6E, Resolution 21-02-01, Northern Pine Riders Grant Support.
So the Northern Pine Riders Snowmobile Club sent this to me requesting support for a grant that they're going for to, it looks like redo part of the Sioux Line Trail. So,
Questions by the council?
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 210201.
Ask for a second.
Second.
No questions? I have one.
yeah,
This is Northern Pine Ride, is this ATV or
snowmobile.
snowmobile?
Yep. I don't know like specifically what section
Where
this
they
is
are?
for. I'm assuming near Willow River because they're going with Willow River, the city of Willow River for this grant. They must be teaming up,
Okay.
but I don't know where
Because
specifically.
we have that closure of the one trail coming off by the depot. on
I think
the
it's the other.
North side of, 73, just so I,
Yeah, yeah.
they're aware they start doing some work and we close it in April 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, I would assume if they get this
Okay.
grant, they won't be doing the work for a little bit.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6F Resolution 21-02-02 Local Road Improvement Program, LRIP grant.
So this is for the grant to resurface a road through the state, through MDOT. I've met with our engineers. The engineers and I both agreed that Second Street is the best option for this particular grant. This particular grant needs to improve some type of heavily used transportation. So part of the story that we're going to be telling in the grant is the proximity to the boat launch. It goes right into the boat launch, and then it also connects to the parks and the campground. It also, Second Street is right across the highway from the Willard Munger, that little parking lot behind Arts. It's right across the road from there, so they thought that would be a good stretch to do. So I do need this resolution passed, but I want to go over a couple of things that I went over with the engineers. There are two estimates behind the resolution and the next 2 pages. One of which is the entire cost of Second Street, and this includes all of everything that we would ever want. So there's room to scale back, but this is like worst case scenario. It costs $2.5 million to do Second Street from Arrowhead to Birch. That entire, I think it's 5 blocks, 5 or 6 blocks.
How much was that?
2.5.
And that, you should tell me what that includes.
Yep, so that includes all the infrastructure, the water, wastewater, storm sewer, lights, sidewalks, the road itself. That includes everything. That includes things that the grant wouldn't even cover. That's the total cost of the project. There are things that we can scale back, like we can scale back on the number of lights we put up, or if we put up any lights. I don't know, things like that. The size of the sidewalk. The grant only covers the road resurfacing, curb, gutter, that type of thing. It does not cover the infrastructure, so it doesn't cover water, sewer, anything like that.
Really?
Yep.
2.5 million, and then we still don't have our infrastructure.
Yeah. So the max we can ask for is 1.2 million from LRIP. And you can see there's 2 columns, the participating amount and non-participating amount. The participating amount is what we could ask for reimbursement for, we can ask for this grant to cover. So, $2.5 million project. If we ask for the full 1.2 and are granted that, we have to come up with 1.37 million. It's not 1.37 million for an entire street, I don't think is bad. Now, do I think that LRIP is gonna give us the whole 1.2? Probably not. So I also have them come up with a secondary option on what we could do. And that's the second page. So that's Elm to Birch. And that's kind of the, me trying to give some options here on how to lessen the burden. Because I'll be honest with you, when I heard we have to come up with $1 million ourselves, I was like, crap. But there are ways that we can do it. I still think we should go for the entire Second Street, because if we're even given $600,000, we can still adjust the project to make it work for our budget.
Do we have to come up with, okay, say we cut it back to one block. Can we do that? No, we still have to get in the ground and do everything underneath before we can do the thing.
Yep. Yep.
So in other words, each block is gonna cost us close to $1 million.
Yep. Well, not $1 million, but.
No, no.
Yeah, yep, it is expensive, but I just think, when are we ever gonna get, even if it's $600,000, when are we ever gonna get $600,000 to pay for the road? Yeah, we have to come up with what's underneath the road, but
Well,
$600,000 is.
how much of Second Street was already done with new sewer?
There was water done and sewer done, but it was actually down where it floods that last block before Birch.
I think it's the first 2 blocks. or
2 blocks.
Maybe.
Yeah. After the flood, there was some more work done, road work.
Yeah, but not utility work.
No, nothing underneath.
Right.
But yeah, you're right, there was some,
So
because it was dug, excuse me.
No, you're fine.
It was dug down, totally exposed, the water, the whole surface was redone.
So I mean, they did do the sewer, and I thought they did all the water too, and then they redid with the storm sewers too.
They did the water down, right down the street, but not the
House hookups.
going to the house hookups. That was not replaced. They just did what's the city owned. The problem was that we have, the stormwater on that, what is it, between Cedar and Birch, that floods because it's a low spot. The way that road was designed
Years ago.
decades ago was not, it wasn't good. So it collects there, and we've tried to use that lot that's where we tore the house down after the flood, and use that as a collecting point, but it's not, it isn't designed the best way to hold all that water. And of course, since then, we haven't had a big flood where it floods the house like it was doing. We did have a 100-year one in 2016, and I think it did flood, it did
There was one last
get
year.
into the house.
There was one last year that flooded.
Yeah.
It rained, what, 4 inches?
Yeah, so
Yeah, there was.
they were affected last year, I know.
Yep.
Now, to me, if we did have a pond on that lot, it was down a couple feet, but then the water would sit there until it evaporated, because the drainage is so, the drain and the topography is so low, it can't drain out of there.
I
Is
guess
that-
it's hard
excuse me.
because Second Street isn't one of the
It's like
worst streets.
It's like number 7 on the CIP plan. It is up there.
Yeah,
It is not the worst.
there
but
are other ones that are-
And there is, so what you're seeing is the road. And what's underneath the road, it's all, everywhere, really bad. We couldn't make a bad decision on like this side of town. There's not a road that I would say, that's silly to do. So I think if we can have a better chance at getting a grant for Second Street, I would think we should go for it. I know $1.3 million is a daunting number, but there are ways that we can cut back, and if we, like I said, if we don't get the 1.2, which I don't think very many communities get the full 1.2, we can scale it back. We can do 2 blocks instead of all 5 blocks or 3 blocks or whatever makes sense. We can scale it back, and then one of my ideas initially was, if we don't have whatever we need to come up with on our end, in our sales tax fund, we can bond for this. So we did actually bond for the Kenwood and Third Street, so that's not uncommon, and then pay for that bond with our sales tax.
Make the payments.
With the sales tax, yeah.
If we get the 1.2, then we have to spend the 2.5, right?
2.5 is the total project cost. If we get 1.2, we have to cover 1.37.
Okay, we have to spend another one.
Yep, yep.
We
So-
can't just sort of just spend 1.2.
Essentially, it's kind of like half off. It's half off an entire road. So, but like I said, the likelihood of us getting 1.2 is not high.
I would say, how do you not? How do you not go for someone paying for half? It's like the school. How do you not? I mean, this is, we're talking about citizens' monies.
Yep.
Their money. I mean, I agree with Chris that it's not the number one. And I understand that completely, but half off is half off.
And so I asked too, I said, let's say we don't get this at all. They say, nope, this isn't a high priority project for us. We still have time to pick a whole, totally different street. We still have time to pick number one, which is 4th Street, from Douglas to Birch. So we still have time to plan
I
that.
guess I'm just saying that you could justify any street from First Street down that goes to the park or goes to the campground or goes to the, so I'm just,
So my personal preference was 4th Street, because 4th Street is number one on our CAP list, but their argument is that it's hard access, it's one way, really narrow one ways, and there's not a great way to fix it. So I can't blow out buildings, and you know what I mean? And 2nd Street just made most sense to them from the requirements of the grant.
Just a question that I have. We don't have a estimate on 4th Street, do we?
Just the engine, what was it, $500,000? I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head. We do have one that they put together for
Yeah.
the CAP plan.
To me, if we do this, we're kind of like putting all our eggs into one basket, but I can understand the 50-50. But when we'll be able to do another street after we do this?
Well,
Because even if we bond, we're gonna need almost all the money in the fund that we have to make these payments.
no, we probably get, so we have 600 something thousand in there right now, I believe.
Okay.
If, let's say we bonded for $500,000, that would be about $100,000, if we did a 5-year, a little more than $100,000 a year. And we get, I think I budget for $225 a year.
Okay.
So it would be a
Still
significant
would
amount,
be-
but
Right,
yeah.
we still can do some,
Yep.
which I'm gonna make an argument sometime here on some of these other roads that are number 19 and number 20, but they're so bad right now that they just, every time you guys fill them, it bounces out. Just to redo them, and by the time we get to number 19, they're gonna be bad again anyway in 30 years.
well, I'm just for
So we
example.
young people know,
I'm just thinking of 73 to Elm on First Street. I
Yeah.
mean, you wreck your struts going down that, and now nobody's going that way because it's so bad that they go down Lakeshore Drive, and that's the new road. Pretty soon that's gonna be deteriorated because everybody's rerouting to 2nd Street, and
Yeah.
because the road is almost impossible to use. It's, even when you fill it, I mean, it is so bad. So I guess that's just where I'm wondering if, okay, so we're only gonna do 2 blocks, or we're doing 2 blocks of a road that's not as bad as some other roads that are, people are wrecking their cars on. So I guess that's my only question is.
Yeah,
I
it's not
mean,
just cars too, it's people on bikes and.
Oh, walking
People
and-
walking, and then people trying to, push
Mhm.
a wheelchair. I don't know, I used to push my mom in the wheelchair, and you go down any of the streets, it's just boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
to me, like that should be, to me, a grind and overlay which would last for, like some of them we've done are still good 10 years later, but at the 10-year point, they're starting to deteriorate again. They're not as bad as they were when we
Yeah.
ground and overlaid. To me, some of those blocks should be done that way until they hit because you're talking 20 to 30,000 to do that, not 150 to a million. So I mean, to me, that makes sense to do that while we are planning these big projects. If you go up onto 6th Street, on the 6th Street West, that's almost worse than First Street.
Yeah, yeah.
So we do have the infrastructure did not put them high on the list, but the road cover itself is so
Well, I
bad.
think, isn't First Street pretty high on that list?
For infrastructure?
I want to
For
say
the
First,
whole thing.
First Street is in the top 5, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
I mean,
It may
it's,
even be
the
right after.
the basic problem there is really from 73 to
To Elm.
Elm. I mean, it's that
Well,
block.
roadway problem.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know about, off the top of my head, about what's underneath the road.
Old.
Well,
Well, yeah.
what? It is?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I just think this, I think we could probably make an argument for every single road, but we gotta start somewhere, and then I think that this is, our chances are highest with this LRIP grant for Second Street. And that's coming from engineers that do this for a living, so, yeah.
Okay, so we would say we got the grant, okay, after we're okay for the grant, how long do we have until we have to use that money?
I think 2 years.
Okay, in that meantime, can we get another grant to add to the part our pay or not?
These grants are few and far between, yeah, I don't,
I mean,
we
from-
could.
I mean, from a different place, is there possibilities out there or not?
This LRIP grant is the only grant that I know of that we've gotten for roadways. There's just not a lot out there. It's different, like the trails, we've gotten,
But
I don't know,
it's
half a
different.
dozen, and for a road, it's
Nothing.
different, yeah. It must come from 2 different sources. I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, you're bean counter, so we
Yeah.
depend on you.
I just don't know where like the LRIP money comes from, you know? Some of the money that we've got for the trails has come from like the,
One is transportation, and the other one, the monies are coming from, like, the state will put all these different elements into the budget. Well, trails and stuff may be under parks and recreation and stuff, but this is, LRIP is transportation
yeah.
and infrastructure, on roadways and stuff. So it is different
The road
money.
goes down to the park, and we had that.
Well, and that's, I mean, not to
And
put
I'm
the carriage
fine.
before the horse here, but the second phase that we wanna, if we get this grant, the second phase that we would probably go for is the section from Birch to the campground then. So we're trying to break this up into like manageable pieces for us and, I mean, them. We can't ask for, $2.5 million for one road. That's unrealistic. They're never gonna give that to us, so.
At what point, let's say that we agree to go with this, at what point can we adjust?
When we get awarded, so.
If we
let's-
award it, we can adjust it down
Yep.
to what we think we can manage.
Yep, because essentially they'll say, are you gonna do this project if we give you 600,000? And we can say, well, we're gonna do this section to this section if you're gonna give us 600, or this section to this section if you're gonna give us 3.
Yeah.
So,
I can see going after, 50/50, and if we have an opportunity to drop it down to cut, that's when we'll have to really look at things.
Yeah.
And,
and that's when we can also look at how many streetlights do we want? What size
Yeah.
sidewalk do we want? Do we want it on both sides, or do we just want it on one side? That kind of stuff.
And then, to me, we should look at, like, First Street, to me, 73 to Elm is terrible. Should have been done, grind and overlay years ago. To me, we should look at that, get an estimate on that at the same time. Like, if it's 20 to 30,000, we should be doing it.
It's a heavily traveled road.
I know it is, and it's absolutely terrible.
So, okay, say we got to 2.5, all right, that'll cover this one now. When we go for whoever gets the bid, can you negotiate with them to say, when they do surfacing, how much would it be for them to add another 2 blocks?
We can add alternate projects onto it and request bids for it, but.
Usually you can get a better deal
Yes.
because they're already there.
Yep.
And they have the material being ordered, and the larger amounts of material, the lower the cost usually
Yep.
goes, so.
We can see, I mean, we can certainly ask them, because that's how we got Northland to do Kenwood and Third so inexpensively, was because they were already here doing Arrowhead, so that was a way bigger project.
Yeah.
This was small potatoes in comparison to that.
Just fine.
So I guess, are there any more questions or discussion? I guess the next thing you're looking for is a motion to move ahead with applying for the grant.
Yep.
Do I have a motion by the council?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 6G, fingerprint fee amendment?
Yeah, on the fee schedule. Currently, we charge $20 per card, right, for fingerprints. We want to increase that to $30. The costs of wages to do it and the supplies have increased, so I don't think we've ever increased it since I've been here.
And there's other agencies that are, first of all, there's very few doing it. I mean, I myself here the other day did 6 of them that have come in, and we've had to order fingerprint cards, we had to order an inkless pad, to make it a little bit cleaner, which isn't a real big expense, but there's anywhere from up to $50 a card. So if we have somebody coming in that wants 2 cards, it's $60, for the $30 fee, which I think is fine. Nobody's ever complained about having that amount of a fee, and yeah, we do a lot of them.
Council?
I'll make a motion, we amended to $30.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to 6H. Spruce Lake Chamber donation request.
The chamber is requesting, typically the chamber requests like one big donation, but this year I asked them to break it up. First of all, I didn't know if half of the events would happen. And then also, because the liquor store was closed for so many months in 2020, our balance is a little bit lower than what I'm used to seeing. So it's not alarming. We can certainly cover the $150, but I just asked them to break up the donation request this year. So this one's for Ice Bocce, and they are requesting $150, which I believe gets us a lane sponsorship. So
Does this, is this held at the same time as the ice fishing contest? or-
I don't think in years past it has, but it is this year.
Oh, it is this year?
Yeah, it's the
Yep.
same date, so I was wondering, are they holding it down at the park? or
Yeah, so
down-
they're actually coordinating those, so
Oh,
they're
okay.
making sure that if someone wants to do the ice bocce, they can also do the ice fishing contest.
Okay.
So they're coordinating times and they're working together, so.
Okay.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6I, the 2019 and 2020 MLWSSD overage bills. I believe this is informational only at this time. I
Yes.
think all of you have the data. We will be probably calling a special meeting on this, where we have more time to discuss it. If we do it now, it would take too much time during the council meeting, so right now it's informational for you, and you have the data, and Katie will be scheduling a special meeting for us to meet on that.
Yep, I just kind of want you guys to, I sent you in a separate attachment, I received an email like 3 minutes after I sent the packet, so take a look at that and contact me if you have any questions, but we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth, I don't know, sometime next week or the week after.
Sure. I'll be gone the week after, so if you want to
Well,
schedule it.
then I suppose next week will have to be the week.
Oh, shoot. All right, moving on, thank you very much. On 6K, Local Board of Appeals Equalization Meeting, April 28th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
We skipped J.
I did. On purpose? No. Okay, Jay, the MLWSSD rate adjustment.
Yes, so each year we, as you guys know, we adjust the rates for our city sewer customers. Since 2017 was the last time that their rate was adjusted. And one of the ideas that I had was not to adjust it like an insane amount, but would it make sense to, per our contract, we have to adjust, we have to let them know by May 1st of any adjustments for the next year. Would it make sense to just let them know like now that their rates are gonna increase 2% because that's what we did for our residents? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to me to wait 4 or 5 years and then do a large increase, but we should just do the same increase that we charge our customers. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Because it'll open, right away they'll ask for a special meeting to
Right.
go into discussion and the reasons why, and
Right,
we'll have to talk about maintenance cost increases, chemical cost increases, anything.
right. And I mean, if we're charging our customers small increases each year, it just makes sense to me to also have them pay those small increases each year. I mean, I think I calculated it's like 5 cents per thousand. Maybe, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but it's not much.
Sure.
So, we can talk about that next time too, but we don't have to let them know till May. So we've got time. I just kinda wanted to make sure that
Informational
yeah.
consensus.
Yep. And I can bring
Yeah.
you specific figures at a later time.
Right.
It was just something on my mind.
Any questions by the council? Thank you. Now, moving on to K again. Local Board of Appeals Equalization Meeting, April 28th, 2021 at 10 a.m. And I'll be right here, informational. We need a quorum,
Yes, and I need for sure you and Doug.
right? I did pass, Doug.
I just need
Quorums.
we need a quorum, so, and I would assume, Chris, you're gonna be working, so I need either Walt or Greg. The April 28th.
At 10 a.m.
At 10 a.m.
Any questions? Move on. We need us too, but we do need the quorum,
Yep.
for sure. So, 6L, liability coverage waiver, League of Minnesota Cities.
So each year, we pass this, that we do not waive the monetary limits on municipal tort liability established by Minnesota statute 466.04.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Six M, Moose Lake Beverage Company temporary off-sale liquor license.
The brewing company wants to serve alcohol at their ice fishing contest next weekend. Yeah, next weekend, so.
We gave it to them last year, didn't we?
Yeah, we've given it probably the last couple of years.
I made a motion to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6N, Sturgeon Lake Lions off-sale gambling application.
And the Lions Club is interested in doing a meat raffle in combination with the ice fishing contest.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6-0, Transportation's Alternatives Program. This is the Highway 73 Trail Phase 2. Kate, would like to explain it to us?
Sure, so I got this email, obviously February 3rd, from the ARDC. He's been the planning guy. I just got an email today from Janine from the county saying that we did get awarded the Phase 2 grant for $300,000. So
Nice.
we've got 4 years to find another $400,000, but that's huge, that's cool, that means that's good, that's awesome.
That means Katie's batting 100% on
Yeah.
grant application. Nice
And
job.
I've already erupted in Tim's face, so check. No, this is huge, that was cool, so now we have to figure out exactly which route we wanna, build the trail on. So, that was cool to get today, so,
Excellent work.
yeah.
Just a little update from Harlan. He just heard that the transformer and regulators will be here Wednesday or Thursday next week. So they'll start that installation at the North Substation right away next week, just for an update on what's the latest. So that's good news.
Perfect timing, cause Moose
Yes.
Lake power outage update.
Yes. And,
You want me to go over it?
yes,
Okay, so, at about 7:15 Monday night, dispatch got a call that the first call was that the power plant exploded, which would have been real bad. But, I'm happy to say it did not. It was a regulator that ended up exploding, which caused some damage to the transformer, which caused that whole north substation to kind of shut down. They tried to fire up the generators and they had some problems with one of them. Ended up getting it up at 1:45, but that left a fairly large amount of time for a lot of people without power. So in the midst of all of that happening, I came into town, Darren showed up at the water and light office.
Yeah.
I mean, so we kind of started coordinating an emergency plan. Billy Joe was gracious enough to offer the school as a warming shelter for anybody that needed it. And we started making plans to open the school up, transportation plans, all that, the whole nine. I'm happy to say we didn't have to do that, but we had all that stuff in place. It was a little chaotic for a little while. It sounds like Harlan has some equipment on order. It's going to be here next week, end of this week.
next week.
Next week.
Wednesday.
Okay. So the generators are currently powering the city, which is fine. This is how the city was.
Lucky we have those generators that are taking that load for the north. It's a north substation and it's all the old part of the city that was originally underpowered by the power plant.
Yep.
And Phil was in and
Yep.
had to check all our pumps for sewer to make sure that the thing were at a point of backing up.
Yep.
And he got a generator from Carlton on hand in case he needed to.
Yeah,
Kurt York was in from the commission. He was there also till, I think we left at 3 or 3:30 a.m.
Yeah.
After things were back online and running. Besides the regulator and transformer, one of the engine generators, the new ones, they put it online, it worked initially, it took the load, but they did a bypass at the time to bypass the regulator and go right into the main transformer and run it unregulated, because you can do that. However, when they did that, a switch for the fan on the roof for the new generator, one of the new ones failed. So when they tried to switch back, of course, the engine generator came on and then shut off, because that's a safety switch, so it doesn't overheat. So that's why we lost power again in the city, and it was really switching crazy. If everybody knew your power would go on, off, on, off, on, off. But
We
they
were
finally-
really close to calling. I mean, there were like
Yeah.
bus drivers. It was a huge thing. It was kind of, it was.
We opened the emergency
Yeah.
response center. Darren.
We had public health here on site already for cots, blankets, whatever. The Red Cross was activated, just in a holding pattern, so everything was ready to go and move people. And like I said, the school, bus drivers, everything was
Yeah, it was.
close.
It was close. And so in the future now, for the next couple of weeks, while we're running strictly on generators, essentially we have no backup, because that's what the generators are, is our backup. If something happens, we don't anticipate anything to happen, but we didn't anticipate this to happen either. So if something happens, the school is where the designated warming shelter is. They have their own generator. Should their power go down, that is where we will go, should there be another event like this when it's 20 below. Yeah, we've got some things already in the back of our minds that we need to change. Some phone numbers that we need to add to the,
Updates to the
Yeah.
response book.
Yep.
It's fully operational, but just needs to be updated now. It's been a while. So it brought it to our attention that we need to do that. Work with the fire department and police
Yeah.
department active,
Yep.
and do things at the county that have changed. So it's always good to update when it gives you an idea of what's going on when you face a new one, where it's time to update and be prepared for what happens next.
And to show where we're vulnerable, where we need
Yeah.
to go, but I think it actually went pretty smooth. And, you know, when I was thinking back on the timeline of what all we got done in 4 to 6 hours.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff to have people on site, so I think you guys did a great job. The water and light crew, hats off to them. Ralph
Yes.
Sandberg, the
Yep.
Ziegler mechanic that lives in town here, that was all there.
Yep.
Huge for
Yeah.
preventing what would have been a
Yeah.
worse outcome.
yeah, I think it went pretty smooth.
Ralph, what's his power company called?
Region.
Region, he came in and actually bypassed the switch on the roof, which activated the fan.
Without Ralph, we would still not have power.
Yeah, so a big kudos for him, and we're gonna generate a thank you letter for him. The commission is power, and also to Ziegler, who had a man who lives in town that was activated, sent here immediately to work on the generator, so. We had some really great assets
Yeah.
here.
It was really nice to see
Yeah.
everybody working together, it really was. And I will also say, at 1 o'clock in the morning, when you've got 5 different people calling 5 other people, not one single person did not answer their phone. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was, I mean, it wasn't an awesome experience, but
And
It
to
was
show up,
great.
I mean, we had Brian Bellich from the
Yep.
county, Marlon,
Yep.
the emergency, Carleton County's emergency coordinator that drove all the way here from Grand Rapids.
yep.
So, yeah, it was
Yeah.
good to see.
We were ready.
Yes.
If it went to the next stage, it was ready to go, so.
Yep.
We were right at that edge too. And everything turned on, and they were able to slowly activate. That's why it took longer. Like the jet engines were on, like we said, 1:30, and it took till maybe 2:30 to get all the city activated, because you had to do it slowly so the engines took the load and actually built up, you know, the power so we wouldn't lose them, and everything shut down again. So,
But the crew did.
thank goodness.
The
it
crew did
worked
a
well.
great job.
Yeah.
You know, it was cold. It was cold out there, and they did a great job, and not one single person complained.
It was minus
So,
18, and they were out there for hours,
Yeah.
so. And that brings us to the next Q, which is resolution number 21-20-03. We have to do this. I did call an emergency situation and made the call to the Minnesota duty officer activating an emergency response center. And I can do that for 3 days, but after that, it has to be approved by the council. And I'd like to keep that, after we had a meeting, all of us together on the emergency team, to keep it active until the equipment is installed and has been tested and we're switched into it. So I'd like to go 3 weeks from now, have this approved, and if everything works, let's say next week, the equipment goes in, it operates for a couple of days, we're good, we can cancel it. But I'd like to activate it then, just to have the emergency response center open, which is at the police station now, and it will be under the control of the officers on duty.
I should also say, I don't think I said this, but the generators are being monitored 24 hours
24/7.
while they're going this way. Somebody will always be there. So if this goes down, somebody will be on site to figure out.
There's 2 men on each shift. Because of course, safety, you gotta have one observer and one working, so for safety purposes, they've got 2 guys on. So, if I have any questions on the resolution, this activates immediate response, and it also, what it allows, any expenditures we have during this time period, we keep track of and submit it to the state when we're done. All overtime shifts, that'll be for us and for the water and light to submit for reimbursement. I don't know if we'll get any, but it's our only possibility of doing it. If you're not under an emergency situation, you're not allowed to submit for reimbursement. So that's one of the bigger reasons. And also, if we need help, one call to the duty officer, he can activate all the state resources in the area that we need help with, if we so determine. The emergency crew.
When we look at the extended cold snap that we have, it just makes sense to keep that in place.
Yeah.
So we just have that one call and get it moving.
I think we're supposed to select a date. So if we do a motion.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes, sir.
You were talking about when the old part of town is being kept going right now by generators, correct? How many households are affected?
I think we had, the count was over, was it 450
Yeah,
people?
it was about
It's
400.
41 when mine came out.
Yeah, same here. So we have 450 households. My concern is, and I'm sure you already thought about this, and it might be with Phil, but if we lose power and we get the buses going and we're moving people, we're gonna have 450 skating rinks.
Yep.
Okay, so what is that plan? Are we notifying the homeowners, or are we shutting off power, or shutting off water to their services, or are they gonna be notified to shut their services off? So yeah, they're gonna lose stuff in the house, but they're not gonna come back to the skating
The
rink.
talk that night was, that was our next plan, was to shut water. If they're gonna be gone for extended periods of time, you know, correct, that would have been the next case. So when they do burst, and good potential that it could have, I mean, 'cause not everybody's gonna know how to drain them, you know, that fast or get them done. Obviously, safety's number one, and yeah, we couldn't have water just flowing everywhere, so unless that's something different, Bill.
It was something
You were
that
correct.
was brought up last night.
Yep, we talked about it then, so.
Okay.
Yep.
First thing was safety for.
Yep, understood. I'm just thinking now, we're
Next
forward
is
thinking,
property.
we have that time to think. I think that we should also have that time to notify people, or have a plan in place, that's all.
And not everybody has a phone anymore where you can get a number. A lot have cell phones, so the idea was to activate the fire department, immediately get, how many, 28?
Somewhere in there.
About 28 firemen in case we had to go door to door. So we designate a team, okay, you take this block, somebody writing down the address, the number of people, And if they can get a phone number, not necessarily would give everyone to give one, but that was the idea where we could get out fast to tell people to go to the school, to the Warman area. Otherwise, it would take forever to go house to house if we just use the police department. It would take too much time.
Right, and that's what kind of leads in, I don't know if we talked about it here, I know we did the earlier meeting with Light Everbridge, you know,
Yep.
programming, something that we might be looking at moving to, I don't know if we want to cover that, Katie.
Yeah, so the county has Everbridge, which is like a mass, I think they take it by geography and they send out a text message, notification to your phone. There are certain programs that essentially use like your billing information for that, like I'll use the city of Carlton as an example. I get text messages, I get emails, I get snail mail too, but that doesn't help us in this case. But I get text messages and emails saying like, there's a water break on 2nd Street, crews are on it, da-da-da-da, or we can even use it for things like, we're having a public hearing on this date to go over this. I mean, there's such a variety of things that you can use it for. It just hooks into the billing software. So I just don't know if our billing software is compatible with it, but I think it's worth looking into, especially in a situation like this or the flood or, I mean, there's a snow, I mean, we could use it for snow removal, we could use it for all kinds of things.
Any emergency.
Yep,
Yeah.
anything,
Any
it just
emergency
makes sense.
situation.
And once a year on your bill, you do your update, if your information is correct, so you have it. One thing that was good, Katie sent out is on the Facebook page that was here, I mean, that had 4,500
Yeah,
views or on that, or in over 5,000 on another one, so people did get the message, that's a lot of people
Yep.
that got that message, so, surprised how well that worked.
yeah, that seems to be the fastest way. Maybe the residents here, like some of our older residents didn't get the message, but their kid in California got it, so then they can call their mom and say, hey,
And that did happen.
yeah,
Somebody in Montana called their parents in Moose Lake and told them, hey, the power's out because transformer and something blew at the North substation. So they told their parents who do not have Facebook, so they knew what was going on. And where to go, it sounds like the school is designated, and if you're contacted or whatever, this is where you go.
And then one of the other things that we're gonna do is, I will be at least going around from Hillside Manor to see what some of the backup things are when you have somebody that might be on oxygen, is there a backup source that you plug in as a battery, backup that can last them a little while. All the, assisted livings, obviously the hospital has their own, school has their own, but what facilities do have generators and what don't, because that would be kind of how we respond,
Yep.
on what's the high risk level first. So we want to get a plan, for that put into place.
I hadn't thought about assisted living, that could have been bad for them.
Right, because it's like, are they run off the hospital's generator, or, some of those, or some of the other
and then like
facilities we have?
the Oak View or Oak,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
the smaller one
Oak
is, I
View.
mean, all of those places, you hope they have generators and things like that, but it's just something to plant a bug in there.
Something that we need to update our emergency response book. A lot of this has changed since, I think we totally redone in 2008, made some changes after the 2012 flood, but now we need to go back and really redo the whole thing again and check these facilities. Do they have backup or don't they? Because they're vulnerable, you have to act fast with stuff, especially I would think they would have backup because some of them are hooked up to some medical equipment, but we just don't know. It's time to upgrade and find out.
Certainly made you think about things that
Right.
you wouldn't have thought about otherwise.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for us now to make some.
Yes, you end up having different serenials or whatever for, depends on what time of year it is.
Yeah.
I mean, today, like Monday, it was like 18 below zero, so. I mean,
The worst possible
It
day.
isn't like in July
Right.
when it's 90 degrees. but-
Right.
Could be the opposite, right,
Yeah.
yeah. Right, just a suggestion for the resolution, let's say February 28th, because if we get it in next Tuesday or Wednesday, that's 16th or 17th. And they have to have about 3 days test time once it's installed. The equipment has to warm up and they put it on a bank, they call it, where it picks up a load. It's not the city, but it's a load bank. And if everything operates, they would attempt to turn it on, then turn generators on. And that would give us a week after to keep in place in case we need to act fast if it all goes down again.
I would just ask for one.
I was just gonna say, could we do until the next city council meeting? That way we wouldn't have to
No,
call.
it's really, it's up to the council. I'm just making a suggestion. If you want to go longer, that's up to you. If it's into March, that's the 10th,
Yeah.
March 10th.
And then at that time, let's just say things aren't going according to plan, we can extend it if we have to. That's kind of my thought, but up to you guys.
So council, any questions and or resolution or motion for the resolution, excuse me?
As long as it doesn't turn into the state of Minnesota State.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be gone, so.
I'm watching you, Ted.
You're gonna be in charge. I haven't told you, I will be gone the first week of March, so you will be,
So it could turn out to be the state.
yes.
That's what you're saying. I'll make
Yes,
that
sir.
motion that this, put this in effect till the next city council meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to reports and correspondence, I have nothing, Katie, do you? Yes, sir.
Yeah, at the last park board meeting, I brought up some ideas on how to advertise the park, basically for free. One thing that I have been already working on with Rory is getting some pictures up on Channel 7 of, basically, what I'm looking for is stuff underneath, like the park, the campground, recreation, the trails, just kind of lump all that stuff together that is in the park board. Just ways to advertise, and one way was to get things on Channel 7, things just like the events that go on down in the park, pictures of the campground, the pier, you know, the boat landing, what kind of fish we got in the lake like that. But I've already been working with Rory on that, and it's been going all right. I haven't done anything real recent with them. We ran into that COVID, so then a lot of the slides were taken down. But I see that he has them up there now. But one other thing that I thought of looking at is a Facebook site through the city that would cover the park, the campground, the recreation, the trails and things like that. And to have it, like, to make it official, either have Katie or Alyssa make it up or something like that. But then the park board could appoint administrators of the site. You can have a number of different administrators. I mean, whoever set it up would still have access, overall say on what goes on there and that. But I was thinking that the park board could appoint some administrators, and then it could be anybody. It could be somebody on the park board, or it could just be somebody that lives in town. The campground did have a Facebook page. It was called, I believe, Campers of the Campground, but it was just made by somebody that stayed down there. It wasn't like really official, and sometimes it'd be like airing dirty laundry on there, saying things that really wouldn't be appropriate for a official Moose Lake site. If you did create something like that, you'd want to have, you know, some control of it, and you know, just keep it simple. You know, like taking pictures of some of the events that go on down there, and like this ice bocce, like that. But I would like to try to get something up like that. At first, I had thought about making one for the park, and one for the campground, but I think you could just combine it all into one, and it would be a lot easier for one person to maintain that. And these things are free. There's really no cost to us. about it, but I'd just like to discuss that here, to see if that's something that the city would be willing to look at in doing, and then if it's decided to do that, to have somebody from the city start it, and then pick a couple administrators or people in town. I would volunteer to do that. I don't know, like Ross Stewart lives across the street from the park. He might be willing to take on something like that, and then just put like a picture up there every week, once every 2 weeks, or whenever there's an event going on like that, and just trying to get the word out. You know, I don't know how many people would join it, but there would be some. And like, you know, Darren said, if you get the right thing, if you get the right picture on it, it's surprising how far it can travel on Facebook. Sometimes for the theater, you know, I go around town and I take pictures of stuff just to put it on the theater site. And there's been times I've had like 30,000 hits on like Agate Days or something like that, when I take pictures of Agate Days and stuff like that. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention to the council, that's something that I'm looking at, and just if I need approval, you know, or just.
So I think it's a fabulous idea. We obviously have a city Facebook page also, and there are really weird new rules and laws with social media in regards to city stuff.
Okay.
And I will be honest with you, I'm not super fluent in all of them. I don't know them all verbatim, I just know that they're there.
Mhm.
So handing over the keys to a Facebook page to somebody who knows less than I do about that makes me a little bit nervous. I will say I was kind of thinking along the same lines, but just utilizing our current Facebook page for, specifically for the campground. I was thinking, you know, we have a weekend where it's kind of a lull of a weekend. We've got a few openings on a Wednesday. I can post on our Facebook page that we've got availability for camping Friday through whatever. But having another Facebook page for the city, I'm weary about.
Yeah, well, I'd like to have it so that there would be other people that would have access to be able to go on there and put content
And I
on
think
there.
that's probably what makes me nervous.
Well, I mean, it would be somebody from the park board, and, you know, just have it just for events. You know, obviously you don't want to be putting certain things on there, because that's one thing I'm concerned about. Also concerned about what people will write, you know, if they respond. Sometimes you have people respond and say bad things and stuff like that. But I think there are ways you can set it up that people can't respond.
Correct.
Right, that's a good point, if I can jump in, because we're doing that with the police department, we don't allow anybody to post on our site, because that's when you get that negativity, especially in this day and age. One wrong thing goes on, and then you get the attack from
Yeah.
everybody else. So as long as you limit it to
Yes.
the city personnel doing it, I wouldn't open it.
Well, I just wanted to bring it to your
I think
attention, and
it's
that we can.
I think it's a really good idea. I think the city already has, I'm not sure how many followers, but like the post last night, I haven't looked at the press release that I posted, but one of the posts got like 5,500 views as of 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday to Tuesday morning. So I think we've already got a lot of followers on the city site
Mhm.
that I think if you want to send me stuff like park events and things like that, I think that would be a really good source to utilize our current Facebook page. And then we don't have to create another one and manage another one.
Yeah, that may
Um,
make better sense.
But, and I'm not opposed to doing that. If you want to send me photos, and I can create, I probably could plan it out in advance of when Agate Days is to post it. I could probably create it right now to post in July.
Yeah, well,
So-
one reason why I thought of having other administrators on it, because I just don't want to take up all your time making Facebook posts.
As long as you
know.
send me the photos and what you want posted, it's like 30 seconds. It doesn't take long. It takes longer for me to come up with a caption because I'm not clever enough.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, but I personally would rather, instead of creating another new Facebook page, I'd rather just use the city one that we have. And because in the past, I think Steve did post stuff about Agate Days and the 4th of July and things like that. He did create events in there. I just haven't yet, but we can do that. Certainly.
You know, see how that works, and then
Yeah.
if there's problems, we
Yeah.
can face that
Yep.
at the time. Or
Yeah, as long as we're getting the information out on some kind of official
Mhm.
Moose Lake site, you know.
Sure. Any
But certainly,
comments?
yeah, send me photos, send me, you know, if, you know, no ice botching happening next weekend, send me photos and we can get those posted, so.
I suppose to send you photos and stuff, that might be easiest to do on a phone.
Yep, you
Phone.
can, shoot me a text.
Comments by the council?
Go for it.
I think the more information that gets out there, more people come to town and.
Yeah, and it's nice because these types of things are free. It doesn't cost us anything other than the effort of taking the pictures. And it's open to, it would, you know, kind of be open to anybody on the city council if they had an idea of anything that they wanted to post, you know? And I don't also mean just, you know, like events or stuff like that, but when it's a hot July day, go down there, take a picture of the beach, of
Yeah.
people swimming and say, hey, the beach is open, come on down and enjoy it. It's just simple things like that.
Yep.
Pictures of, to be able to see how pretty the park is, or the lake, or the trails, and things of that nature.
Yep, I agree.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, Counselor.
Thank you.
Number 8, committee and board meeting minutes. We have the Moose Lake Park and Recreation from February 1st, 2021. Under 9, announcements. Regular Moose Lake City Council meeting Wednesday, March 10th at 4 p.m. right here. Moose Lake Economic Development Authority Wednesday, February 17th, 12 p.m. in the city conference room. Moose Lake Water and Light Commission regular meeting Tuesday, February 16th, 3 p.m. at the Water and Light office. Moose Lake Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board Monday, March 8th, 11 a.m. Hillside Manor office. Moose Lake Area Fire District Tuesday, March 9th, 6:30 p.m. the Emergency Response Center. Moose Lake Park Board Monday, March 1st, 6:30 p.m. City Council and Town Board Chamber. And I also should state there is the emergency team will be meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning and Friday, and I think we schedule Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Because it's a holiday. I'll be here anyway, but no. Tuesday. Monday's a holiday, so Tuesday, we will have one at 9 a.m. And we'll determine if we need to continue one daily. If there's really no new input or new things going on, we'll maybe go one a week or something until the event's over and we close the center. So you're all welcome. If they are open meetings. So if we are we going to meet here tomorrow morning or the conference?
We might start at the conference room,
Well,
depending
yeah.
on how many people will be down here.
All right. Anything else? Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor.